for the most part. He just Larry Holder. I want to say Nick Underhill, the Advocate. A few guys have noted in their tweet on Twitter that in team drills he just has been non-existent. It's almost like as if the invitations went out and he didn't get his. I don't know what else analogy I can use. It's very disappointing. It's very disappointing because they had high hopes for him. So right now he's in danger of not even making this team, and that's how bad I think it's been. He didn't register a single stat against. I think he had 20 or 22 total snaps against the Patriots. Played a majority of that second half, I think, and didn't register a single stat. Not a quarterback pressure, not a sack, not a tackle, not an assisted tackle, nothing. So that's who I want to see. Because if the young man doesn't turn it up a notch, he's in danger of not making this team.
Wow. So he was holding up air.
Yeah, basically.
Wow. So we shall see with Mr. Tull. And Professor, one guy, man.
I'm rooting for my man. I'm keeping my eye on my buddy, Tommy Lee Lewis. That's who I'm rooting for.
All right. Good. My guy, since I called you out, I want to see a better performance, Mr. Andrus Peat. Let's show the Who Dat Nation you can protect Drew Brees, man. So let's look out for him. A couple other guys to look out for, especially this preseason game. Still, let's go with these young guys like Daniel Lasco, Marcus Murphy. We still got to see what's going on with you guys on the defensive side. We have to still see what's happening with Crowley, man. He had some good performances and some questionable ones. So let's see if he can kind of give a good performance. Eric Harris, let's see what you can do, as well as you, Von Bell, and Damian Swan. And the battle between he and Devontae Harris is heating up, because right now Devontae Harris is over Damian Swan, which is surprising because Damian Swan last season helped fill in some of those games when they had injuries in the cornerback core. And we've got to figure out, Coach, tell me, any word on Big O, David Onyemata?
No, I hadn't gotten anything more. And that's really going to be interesting to see what kind of progress that he can make, because the Saints had a limited number of draft choices and they've taken a chance on him. So his development is going to be important to the future of this football team.
Yes, because let's remember, what was that big boy out of Baylor at defensive tackle the Saints could have chosen, but they chosen
Edward Obal.
Yeah, man. I mean, they had
it was crazy. Right. Remember, you and I were talking about that guy. This is what I mean about this team and their evaluation and picking up people, because that guy, I watched his film. I went out there and studied. This guy and many analysts had him going in the first round. I could not believe the Saints did not pick this gentleman. In fact, some of the analysts had him going to the Saints in the first round over Sheldon Rankins. And this guy was sitting there available in the fourth round, and the Saints did not select him.
And the fact that they traded up to draft Onyemata, it sounds like a Mel Brooks character. Like, what's a matter?
What's a matter? Omni.
What's the matter? Daniel, what's the matter? Yeah. And when you trade up for somebody, that player's got to hit, because you can't afford to give up a draft choice to move up and take a specific person, and that person not hit. So it doesn't have to be this year, but at some point in the not too distant future, he's got to be an impact player, because the Saints used two players to pick him.
Yeah, Andrew Billings. Yeah, that was the guy I was thinking.
Billings. Billings.
Yeah, Andrew Billings, because the Bengals, I guess they were so much in shock, like, what? He's still there? So they wind up choosing him. I don't know how he's performing in camp thus far. Barry, have you heard anything about Andrew Billings?
No, I haven't. And yeah, before the draft, I was very high on him. So I don't know if he's having a good camp or a bad camp. I'm going to guess that since we haven't heard anything, that he hasn't stood out per se. But I mean, it's only week 2 of preseason, so that's another guy that the Saints could have, would have, should have had. That now to their credit, maybe they knew that Tyler Davidson was ready to take that next step at the nose tackle position, so they might have thought, well, maybe we don't need Andrew Billings, and that's fine. But there's just a lot of moves. As nice as some of these draft picks appear to be panning out in this past year's draft, there's a lot of guys that they passed on. They passed on Cody Whitehair, the All-American guard from Kansas State. They passed on him, and now, granted, Michael Thomas.
Crazy.
Yeah, granted, Michael Thomas is a phenomenal player, and it could be a once in a lifetime, generational wide receiver for the Saints. So, in hindsight, I'm not as upset about it now. But when we see all this shuffling around on the offensive line, to think that they had a shot at an All-American guard, that was still sitting on the board when they got on because there's no guarantee that Michael Thomas would have still been there had they, used that pick that they used to trade up to get Von Bell. They could have, maybe used that same pick to trade up to get Michael Thomas at that spot, and then get that, take Cody Whitehair at, with that first second round pick. But that's neither here or there. That's just, draft strategy that could have, would have, should have played out, that did play out. But there's just a lot of it. You go back and look at the 2016 draft, pick by pick, round by round, and look at all the guys that they passed on. It's phenomenal. So, but, that's every year. You can go back and hand pick, any NFL draft and say, okay, well, if Team A doesn't pick this guy and pick this guy instead, and so on and so on. So, so far the Saints look good. Okay, up to Onyemata pick. Yeah, I mean, Rankins looks like he's going to be a superstar someday. Thomas obviously is going to be a superstar someday. Von Bell looks like he'll be a solid pro. So those first three you feel really good about. And then once you get to Onyemata, then you're like, So we'll see. We'll see how he pans out.
As Coach said, what's the matter, Onyemata? So I can see Mel Brooks doing that too, Coach.
That's right.
It's in my head now. What's the matter? Look, man, we talk about quarterbacks. I'm going to tell you a quarterback that shined in his first preseason game.
Oh,
Dak Prescott. Oh, my God. I couldn't believe it. And remember, he was supposed to be a number 1 pick for a lot of teams. Remember, during the season when these guys were winning last year as well, Dak Prescott, and he fell all the way down to the 4th round. And Saints passed him up. A lot of teams did pass him up, but Tony Romo, watch your shoulder, baby. I'm telling you, this kid looked pretty good. And I know it's just preseason, so hey, it is what it is. Okay, guys, I will be giving some reports. And if I'm there tomorrow, if it's not rained out down here, I'll give some reports on the practice, and I'll tweet as well as send a couple of vines here and there. So be on the lookout from at Saints News, so you can be able to see what's going on at the Saints and Houston Texans practice. Also, I will be in the stands on Saturday night to be able to see what's happening with the Saints. Let's have a decent performance, because we remember what happened in regular season last year. We got ran out of the stadium, so we're not going to have that happen. It's just preseason, but hey, these Houston fans are kind of crazy, y'all.
Yeah, I called Kyle while he was at the game. I'm like, Kyle, where you at? Go into the car, get in the car. I was like, what?
Yeah, man, it was over, baby. It was over. Okay, Coach. Any last thoughts? Any last things you wanted to say before we hit the bed?
Well, let's say this is scrimmage week here in Louisiana in high school football. So, a bunch of us from Sports Nola are going out to see some scrimmages. In fact, Rummel and H.L. Bourgeois scrimmage today. I'm going to go see Holy Cross and Helen Cox tomorrow. Have De La Salle scrimmaging tomorrow as well. De La Salle and St. Aug. So scrimmage season is up and running. Next week will be Jamboree. And then the week after that, the first week of the prep regular season, that's when we'll be starting on Wednesday. The Prep Recruiting Insider with Destrahan coming up first on our show. And then the original with Ken Trahan's original Prep Football Report. So we're really getting into football now. And with the Saints Saturday, we need to see some improvement. Ball security, penalties, running the ball, running the ball and stopping the run. That's all things to look forward to seeing if the Saints have gotten better this week.
Yeah, definitely. And if you haven't been like me all of my life, I've always wanted to ask this question, Coach. What is a jamboree?
Jamboree is a preseason game. It's half a game that you have scrimmages that are controlled against two teams, and then you have like a dress rehearsal. It's half to 3/4 of a game, and so it's your preseason game in high school under the lights in a stadium full of people. So it is the dress rehearsal before the regular season.
Yeah. I remember the jamborees we had at 35, but it's just a cool name. Jamboree.
Yes.
The jamborees for me was always I'm jamming with the band, eating good food, and watching football. That's how I was at the jamboree.
I was going to throw in there as well because you guys know I'm from New Orleans, but I went to high school in Baton Rouge because my parents divorced. And for us in East Baton Rouge Parish, a jamboree was more than just, as Coach talked about it, it's basically a preseason high school game, but it's also a festive occasion. As Professor talked about, bands playing, and it's just a big reason for teenagers to have a big party, basically, as I recall anyway. Yeah. I don't want to get too detailed, but it was a very fun night. So, it lives up. It lives up to its billing, put it that way.
Yeah, some of our listeners may be like, well, in New Orleans, they have jamborees. I don't know what that is. So yeah, that is a jamboree. And we do have a good time in New Orleans. I remember the times when you went to the football games, not for the football game, but to listen to the bands, So that's how fun and festive
among other things.
Among other things is correct. You are right. All right, guys. But before we get off here, we have to keep in prayer all of the residents of southern Louisiana that have been affected by the flooding. Coach, I heard in your parish there's been some serious floodings around there, and they have been doing some sandbagging over the past 24 hours as well. Have you been affected, Coach? I failed to ask you that.
Yeah, no, we have not. In St. John Parish, we've been pretty good. The western part toward Baton Rouge it does have some high water. I don't think anything's gotten in anybody's house, but going from the Amite River and Tangipahoa, the water that would normally flow into the lake is backing up into all of these areas, and they've had a lot of backwash. I think at St. James Parish, the water's right up to Airline Highway. I don't think it's gotten in anybody's house, but as soon as you get up in Ascension and certainly up in Tangipahoa Parish, all the way through Baton Rouge, Denham Springs, and the like, they've had some severe flooding. They had over 20 inches of rain, and there was no